You're exhausted. You're putting in the hours, choking down supplements, and maybe even restricting your diet. But that stubborn belly fat won't budge, your brain fog is thickening, and your drive is flatlining. What if I told you the biggest threat to your testosterone isn't your age, your genetics, or your diet? It's the chair you are sitting in right now. Society has convinced men that the path to optimal hormones requires absolute brutality, heavy lifting, ice baths, and extreme fasting. But modern endocrinology tells a completely different story. The ultimate chemical switch to reignite your testosterone doesn't happen in the squat rack. It happens on the sidewalk. For every 1,000 steps you take, your testosterone climbs by 7 nanograms per deciliter. That is a biological fact. But there is a massive hidden catch that keeps most men completely locked out of this benefit. Most people are walking wrong for their hormones. They stroll, they wander, they look at their phones, and they get absolutely zero biological benefit. By the time we finish today, you won't just understand why walking is the ultimate hormonal lever. You'll see the exact biological mechanisms that protect your manhood. I'm going to break down the rule from a landmark medical study that proves every step counts. I'll show you how a simple daily walk acts as a chemical kill switch for the estrogen currently circulating in your body. And most importantly, I'm going to show you exactly how to weave this into your life so that your body has no choice but to start building again. But before we look at why this works, we have to look at what happens when the movement stops. Consider a group of healthy, active young men, guys in their absolute prime. Researchers once put these men into a step count study where they were forced to drastically reduce their daily activity. The researchers didn't change the men's diets, and they didn't deprive them of sleep. They simply told them, stop moving. They capped their steps at roughly 1,500 a day, essentially mimicking the lifestyle of the average modern office worker who goes from the bed to the car to the desk and back to the couch. The results were terrifying. In just 2 weeks, these healthy men saw a massive drop in their insulin sensitivity. Their bodies started storing fat at an accelerated rate. But the most shocking part? Their testosterone levels plummeted. Their bodies, sensing the sudden lack of movement, essentially decided that reproductive mode was no longer necessary for survival. They shifted into hibernation mode. Then, the researchers reversed it. They told the men to start walking again. No heavy squats, no sprinting, just normal daily movement. Within days, the metabolic markers began to flip. The testosterone levels started to climb back up toward their baseline. This study proved one undeniable fact. Your body views a sedentary lifestyle as a biological emergency. When you stop moving, your testosterone doesn't just dip, it gets actively suppressed. But that was just about what happens when you stop. The real aha moment came in 2021, when researchers released a bombshell study using data from the U.S. National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. They looked at hundreds of men, tracking their exact step counts and their blood hormone levels. They didn't just find a loose link. They found a mathematical formula. They discovered that for every 1,000 additional steps a man took per day, his testosterone levels increased by 7 nanograms per deciliter. Let's do the math on that. If you're currently sedentary, taking only 4,000 steps a day, and you bump that up to 10,000 steps, that is a 6,000 step difference. That is a potential 42-point increase in your baseline testosterone, just from putting one foot in front of the other. But here's the scary part of the data. When they looked at men taking fewer than 4,000 steps a day, the odds of those men having clinically low testosterone were sky high. When they compared them to men taking over 8,000 steps, the active men had a 90% lower risk of having low T. Simply moving your body removes 90% of the risk of crashing your hormones. To understand why such a simple act has such a drastic effect, we have to look at what biologists call the cortisol seesaw. Think of your hormone system like a bank account with a very strict budget. Your body uses the exact same raw materials, specifically cholesterol, to make both your sex hormones, like testosterone, and your stress hormones, like cortisol. It cannot make an unlimited amount of both. It has to choose. Imagine you're at work, and your boss drops a massive deadline on your desk. Your heart rate climbs, your jaw clenches, and your body pumps out cortisol. In that moment, your body says, "We need to survive right now. We don't need to thrive, build muscle, or reproduce." It literally steals the raw materials meant for your testosterone and uses them to build stress hormones instead. This is known in endocrinology as the pregnenolone steal, or the cortisol steal. Walking is the ultimate antidote to this chemical theft. When you engage in steady, rhythmic walking, you induce a state in the brain called optic flow. As the world moves past your eyes in a predictable rhythm, the amygdala, the fear center of your brain, actually quiets down. Walking literally lowers the volume on your central nervous system's stress response, while high-intensity exercise, like sprinting, actually raises cortisol temporarily because it is a physical stressor. Walking lowers it. By walking, you are communicating directly to your nervous system. We are safe. We are not under attack. When cortisol drops, you free up those raw materials and give your body the resources it needs to start producing testosterone again. However, the cortisol steal isn't the only enemy. We also have to talk about the physical structure of your body, specifically the fat around your midsection. Not all fat is created equal. The subcutaneous fat on your arms or legs is mostly just passive energy storage. But visceral fat, the hard fat that pushes your belly out from the inside, is entirely different. Visceral fat is chemically active. It acts like a parasitic endocrine organ that produces an enzyme called aromatase. Imagine you are working hard to produce testosterone, pouring it into a bucket. Aromatase is a hole in the bottom of that bucket. But it's worse than that. It doesn't just let the testosterone leak out, it converts it. Aromatase physically alters your testosterone molecules and turns them into estrogen. This is exactly why men with significant belly fat often suffer from low libido, mood swings, and loss of muscle mass. Their own body fat is actively robbing them of their manhood. This is where walking becomes your superior weapon. Your body burns fuel differently depending on how hard you are working. When you sprint or lift heavy weights, your body burns glycogen, sugar stored in the muscles. It's quick, explosive energy. But when you walk, you stay in what is called the oxidative zone. This is the zone where your body becomes incredibly efficient at mobilizing and burning fat for fuel. By walking consistently, you are slowly starving the aromatase factory. You aren't just losing weight. You are destroying the chemical weapon that is being used against you. But what about the food you eat? We've all experienced the food coma. You eat a big lunch, and an hour later, you want to curl up under your desk. That is your blood sugar spiking and crashing. When your blood sugar is chronically high, your body has to pump out insulin to manage it. High insulin levels are a direct signal to the testes to lower testosterone production. It's a protective mechanism. The body thinks the metabolism is broken and decides it's a bad time to reproduce. Most men try to fix this with brutal, restrictive diets that they eventually quit. But walking offers a backdoor solution. Your leg muscles, your quads, hamstrings, and glutes are the largest muscles in your body. When you walk, these muscles contract thousands of times, acting like a giant mechanical sponge for blood sugar. They physically soak up glucose from your bloodstream without needing nearly as much insulin to do it. Imagine you've just finished a large dinner. Instead of sitting on the couch to watch TV, you step outside for just 10 minutes. By doing this, you blunt the blood sugar spike and prevent that massive release of insulin. By keeping your insulin levels low and stable, you signal to your body that your metabolic environment is healthy, which acts as a massive green light for testosterone production. Beyond the chemistry, testosterone isn't just a molecule, it's a feeling. It's inextricably linked to dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation and reward. When you sit around all day, you feel stagnant, and your brain produces less dopamine. This lethargy feeds into a devastating feedback loop of low testosterone. Movement breaks the loop. Biologists talk about the winner effect. When an animal patrols its territory, explores new environments, and moves with purpose, its testosterone naturally rises. It is a biological reward for being active and dominant in its environment. Walking, specifically brisk, purposeful walking, mimics this patrolling behavior. It releases endorphins and dopamine, which improves your mood and creates a positive feedback loop. High testosterone makes you want to move, but the act of moving makes your body want to produce testosterone. By forcing yourself to walk, even when you don't feel like it, you are manually jump-starting the engine. So how do you actually turn this into a reality? You don't need a complicated training manual, but you do need to understand the 3 pillars of a testosterone walk. First, the pace. A casual stroll looking at your phone is great for clearing your head, but for your hormones, you need to pick it up. Imagine you're walking through a busy airport and you're slightly late for your flight. You aren't running, but you're moving with intention. You should be breathing slightly harder than normal, but still able to speak in short sentences. This is the sweet spot that burns fat without crossing the threshold into spiking cortisol. Next, the timing. As we discussed with the sugar sponge effect, the most biologically effective time to walk is right after you eat. Instead of forcing yourself into one long, grueling walk in the morning, try to split it up. Do 10 minutes after lunch and 15 minutes after dinner. This dosing strategy keeps your metabolism humming all day long and keeps your insulin levels in check after every single meal. Finally, your environment. If you can, get outside. Sunlight hitting your eyes and skin is crucial because it triggers vitamin D production. Vitamin D isn't just a regular vitamin, it's a steroid precursor. It is literally a raw building block for testosterone. Walking on a treadmill in a dark basement is absolutely better than sitting on the couch. But walking outside in the sun is exponentially better. You get the movement, the stress reduction of optic flow, and the raw chemical building blocks all in one single habit. The beauty of walking is that the barrier to entry is zero. You don't need expensive equipment, you don't need a gym membership, and you don't need to learn perfect form. You just need to stand up. If you're feeling the effects of low testosterone, the fatigue, the brain fog, the widening waistline, the lack of drive, don't start by looking for a magic supplement or a complex workout routine. Start by fixing the foundation. Your body was designed by evolution to move. When you stop moving, it starts shutting down. Walking is the physical signal that turns the lights back on. It clears the stress, it burns the visceral fat that steals your hormones, and it stabilizes your blood sugar. It is the single most effective, natural way to create an environment where your testosterone can thrive. So here is my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, hit 8,000 steps. No excuses, rain or shine. Do it for just 1 week, and then ask yourself how you feel. You won't just feel physically lighter. You will feel the engine finally turning over again. Start walking. Your body will do the rest. We've spent this time breaking down the biology, the Cortisol Steal, and the Aromatase Factory. But let me be entirely clear. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Your body is a masterpiece of evolution, built for motion. Every hour you spend frozen at a desk or locked to a couch, you are actively signaling to your biology to power down. You don't need a perfectly optimized schedule to fix this. You don't need expensive running shoes or a wearable fitness tracker. You just need to stand up and reclaim your biology. Take the 7-day challenge. Step outside, get some sun on your face, and take your hormones off mute. If this deep dive changed the way you view your daily routine, hit the like button and subscribe for more science-backed strategies to optimize your health. Drop a comment down below and let me know, what is your step count looking like today? I'll see you in the next video. Now close this app and go get your steps in.